Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the launch of the Cray Foss IT Sligo Certificate in Composting Facility Operation. My name is Percy Foster. I'm the Executive Administrator of Cray, the Composting Association of Ireland. The running order for today is I'll give a short address, followed by Martin Lynch, the Assistant Director General of Foss, followed by Billy Fitzgerald from IT Sligo, and then finally Minister John Gormley will give an address. Cray, Foss and IT Sligo are delighted to be launching this course here today, and we'd like to thank our hosts Jim Barry and Tim Duggan for allowing us to use their compost site here today. On behalf of Cray, I would especially like to welcome here today Minister John Gormley, Minister for the Heritage, for the Environment, Heritage and Local Government. The development of this course started over 1.5 years ago, and to develop the best possible course, Cray decided to join up with Foss and with IT Sligo. Foss have kindly grant-aided part development of the course and also have grant-aided students on the course. IT Sligo have provided accreditation of the highest standard, and the course is now recognised both nationally and internationally. Apart from our partners in this course, there are various other groups of people which I'd like to thank. They are the steering committee for their valuable input, the many trainers on this course for sharing their knowledge, and also the composting sites which have allowed us to use their facilities during the course. This course would provide compost operators, regulators of composting sites, and other interested parties with the practical knowledge on how to make compost and also produce high quality compost and how to do it in a manner which is proper, and also how to be compliant with all the regulations. This course is a major step in training the industry on how to manage composting sites. These facilities are a major infrastructure in place today which can divert significant tonnage of organic waste from landfills in order for Ireland to meet its obligation under the EU Landfill Directive. The prospect of Ireland paying daily fines from the European Commission is just around the corner in 24 months. Cray found that the number of composting sites surged in 2002 after the introduction of the landfill levy and also the increase with the landfill gate fees. However, this situation unfortunately has changed. Landfill prices have dropped, and this has led to increased quantities of organic waste going into landfill. Some facilities have closed over the past year, while there are even facilities which have been built and are lying idle. A survey in 2006 of facilities in Ireland of facilities processing garden and landscape materials and food waste showed that they're running about half of their capacity. This is in despite of eligible waste being buried rather than landfilled. And this is in despite of the daily fines from the European Commission in around 24 months. Recently, the Environmental Protection Agency produced 2 reports which are calling for the urgent action to reverse the trend which shows the amount of waste going to landfill is increasing, not decreasing, as we would have expected if Ireland is to meet its EU commitment to landfill less. The EPA have outlined several policy instruments which can turn the tide in 1 to 2 years. Some of these include increasing the landfill levy, banning the landfilling of untreated waste, and the subsidy of quality compost. Cray agrees with the EPA that this problem must be tackled now in 2008. The first step in meeting the EU landfill diversion targets is to capitalise on the existing infrastructure in place today for the processing of source-separated commercial, domestic and garden and landscape materials. Once this is done, then the waste management industry should process the residual waste left over by mechanical biological treatment and our other technologies. The beauty of source separation of organic waste is that it produces high quality compost products which reduce the requirement for virgin materials. These compost products can be used by hobby gardeners, landscapers, golf courses, parks and gardens, to name but a few. High quality compost products produced from source separated waste is a lucrative revenue earner for composting facilities. This facility here today, which we're visiting, earns more money from selling compost products than the gate fees it gets for the garden and landscape materials. Over the past 2 years working for Cray, I've visited many composting sites. I've met with most people on the ground in the composting sector. It is extremely disheartening to hear There are operators who have the capacity to process organic waste into compost products, but cannot get the feedstocks. These same people are optimistic that Minister Gormley will make changes now, which will create the economic incentives to divert waste from landfill. These operators are willing to invest tens of millions of euros to expand their existing facilities and to build new ones. If you excuse the pun, they are waiting for the green light from our Green Party Minister for Environment. A lack of material to recycle into compost has driven some firms out of business, and I honestly believe that if changes are not made this year, by the end of this year, we will see a lot more for sale signs going up outside composting facilities. Finally, I would like to thank on behalf of Cray the huge cooperation the people from Foss, Jerry Johnson, Bill Delaney and Pat Keelan and Billy Fitzgerald from IT Sligo have provided over the last year in developing and getting this course off the ground. These organisations are friends of the composting industry, and Cray is extremely grateful for their support. On a final note, this course is a first step of Cray's efforts to develop a sustainable composting sector both in Northern Ireland and in the Republic of Ireland. Thank you.
Well, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's great to see you all here this afternoon at this very important event, and we have a beautiful day for it, and I'm delighted that I can be of assistance and that I'm here to launch this certificate in compost facility operation. Percy quite rightly pointed out, and previous speakers as well, Billy pointed out, the difficulties that we now face in relation to complying with the requirements of the landfill directive. And obviously, as the person in charge, I'm very conscious of this, and there's no question about it. We are going to face fines if we do not get our act together and get it together very, very quickly. I think the realities were starkly illustrated in the latest EPA report, and it shows that the quantity of biodegradable municipal waste is up by 15%, and that the quantity of municipal waste is up by 11%, while our recycling levels also continue to rise. We started from such a low base, and our economy has grown at such a pace that we are in many ways running really to a standstill. We've got to make a leap forward and to go beyond the type of incremental progress that we have been seeing. So we require really action, and that's what we discussed earlier on in the Port of Cavan, and I think you know that I'm in agreement with a lot of what you're trying to achieve. The report shows that the quantity of municipal waste sent to landfill increased by 8% in 2006, and really this is not sustainable, and it demands urgent action. We have to not just halt, but we have to reverse the trend if we are to have any realistic chance of meeting the European Union landfill diversion targets for 2010 set by the Landfill Directive. The government is acutely aware of the need to make rapid progress in diverting bio-waste, and towards that end, the programme for government commits us to implementing the national strategy on biodegradable waste. It's clear, therefore, that if composting is to play its part in meeting our targets as envisaged in the national strategy, we must be clear about the measures that need to be put in place to support the achievement of that objective. The first and most urgent priority, in my view, is to support greater levels of composting, and we need to do that through, as we said earlier on, source segregation, including the rapid rollout across the country of the brown bin collections for our biodegradable waste. My department will shortly issue a circular letter to local authorities advising that steps need to be taken promptly to introduce brown bin segregated collections for bio-waste. I see this as an absolute priority because, as we said earlier on, this gives you a far better quality of compost. The sort of, I suppose, bad practice that we've been seeing elsewhere in the country is not going to lead to good composting. We know that. Segregated collections and centralised composting facilities are projected in the national strategy to divert over 330,000 tonnes of bio-waste from landfill by 2016. This will not be enough to meet our diversion targets. Other measures are required. Prevention, home composting and treatment of residual waste will all have a role to play, and I've made it very clear as well that incineration is no longer the cornerstone of waste management policy. I want to see the potential of alternative technologies such as mechanical and biological treatment fully exploited in achieving diversion objectives. This issue is to be explored in detail as part of a waste review, but I'm also conscious of the fact that waste reviews take a certain amount of time, and I've indicated to my own department that if we are to achieve these targets, and I've also spoken to the EPA at length, that we need to move things forward rapidly. The EPA, as I've mentioned, has signalled, and industry have made it very clear, that falling gate fees at landfill facilities are undermining composting and other recycling operations. This is not acceptable in my view. In the short term, I want to signal very clearly that landfill is a solution of the past that can only have a minor and I believe diminishing role in the future. While the present legal framework curtails what I can do in the short term, it is intended to increase the landfill levy to the maximum extent possible, and that's under current legislation. I do intend to go further than that, as I indicated earlier on, and I want to introduce now legislation that enables me to increase the landfill levy and to accompany that with an incineration levy. The viability of the composting industry also critically depends on the quality of the product it manufactures. There's no point, I believe, in manufacturing a product if you can't actually sell it. The key to developing markets is quality. I understand that work on the development of the quality standard by CRAE is well advanced as part of the market development programme funded by my department. This €13 million programme sets out a series of measures to support the development of markets for a range of materials, including recovered organics. None is more important than the development of the quality standard. I would also like to see the associated quality assurance scheme put in place as quickly as possible. This will give your clients and consumers greater confidence in the products you manufacture, and this in turn will stimulate demand. I'd also like at this point to acknowledge other market development work being carried out by CRAE, including the publication recently of the Compost Marketing Handbook, developed with Foss and Ron Alexander and Associates. In recognition of this work and other measures being undertaken by CRAE and other stakeholders in this area, I'm pleased to announce that my department will sponsor CRAE's annual conference this year. The picture I've painted thus far will see quality standards driving demand and brown bins delivering feedstock. The challenge for industry is to deliver capacity. If segregated collections are to be rolled out, compliant composting infrastructure is required to progress the diverted biodegradable municipal waste. These facilities must have planning permission, be appropriately permitted or licensed in accordance with waste management legislation, and comply with the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Foods rules on animal byproducts. The challenge for industry is to deliver this capacity between now and 2010. And all of this brings me by a circuitous route, I suppose, back to today's event. If we are going to have more and more facilities and bigger facilities, we need people to operate them. Trained operators are better operators, and all areas of activity benefit from skilled and knowledgeable staff. Composting is no different. I commend all involved, CRAE, the Institute of Technology in Sligo, Foss, my former employers, as it happens, for their excellent work in delivering this training programme. In particular, I want to congratulate the 38 or so people who have so far completed the course, and I say well done to all of you. I hope in my remarks here today I've managed to convey the central role I see for composting in meeting our diversion targets. I know the industry sees itself as a product manufacturer rather than as a waste processor. I believe that it is this focus on resources and not on waste that offers the best hope for a very successful future. By continuing to work together, we can make progress towards our common goals: diversion of biodegradable waste and the development of a thriving composting industry. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody, Minister. Firstly, I would like to thank Cray for coming to Sligo IT and to become associated with this course. IT Sligo has been involved in environmental science courses for over 30 years now. It goes back to 1975 when we started off what is now an ordinary degree in environmental science, and we've produced graduates at various levels. At level 6, which is higher certificate, level 7 ordinary degree, level 8 honours degree, level 9 masters, and level 10 PhD. Under this framework of qualifications, it provides a currency or a denomination for academic achievements and allows flexibility through modularisation and the allocation of credits in so to speak, packages of learning. In relation to this course is accredited at level 6, which is higher certificate level, and commands 10 credits. A normal higher certificate course would command 120 credits and usually involves full-time coursework for over 2 years. Generally, it's about 60 credits per year, so this one commands 10 credits. As with many other colleges, IT Sligo have found that it's no longer appropriate to be offering education and training solely to those attending full-time, mainly school leavers. It is necessary to go out to the industry and commercial organisations and to see what their education and skill needs are, and to provide training and education accordingly, but also more importantly to accredit this sort of training. This course is a partnership between Cray, FOSS and IT Sligo and has worked very well. We have worked with FOSS in the past, and in 1989 they helped us develop a distance learning programme in environmental protection, and that's still running very well and attracts 30 students or participants as we call them every year. The reason we call them participants is because it's run by distance learning. FOSS has supported this training initiative not only in providing financial support for the development of the course, but also to many of the participants that undertake the course. And I'd like to thank Tim Delaney for his part on this, and also Pat Keelan. On the Cray side, I would like to thank Percy Foster, the technical administrator, I suppose, of Cray, and who's also a graduate of IT Sligo, for his large input in getting the course off the ground, and for being the main liaison person between IT Sligo and Cray. Also like to thank some of the people that developed the course material, namely again Percy and Dr. Craig Benton, also sometimes referred to as Dr. Compost, for his large involvement in the development and also in the delivery of the training material. Another group that needs to be commended are the participants themselves. The course already has been delivered to 40 participants, and not only do they need to be commended for taking on such a course of study, some of whom have not studied at third level before, but more so that they're taking it on as a self-learning, basically distance learning type course. What underpins this course, and indeed many other courses, is the need to comply with legal requirements. In this case, the obligation to divert the organic fraction of biodegradable municipal waste from landfill is the driving factor. Minister John Gormley has tackled this problem and produced many policy documents, the most recent of which is Hitting the Targets, which was published in January 08. Segregation at source, as Percy mentioned earlier, is very important to provide an acceptable feedstock for the composting industry, and particularly in the production of a saleable product for use by gardeners in the horticultural industry. It also replaces the natural peat products, as Percy has mentioned. This is the most environmentally friendly option for the biodegradable municipal fraction, and the rollout of source segregation by the issuing of green or brown bins is vital to the composting industry, and I suppose also to the success of this course. I would like to thank the managers and operators of the composting sites for accepting the course participants onto their sites and to provide a very valuable and important form of education and training. It puts everything into perspective, and I'd like to mention some of the companies: Waddock Composting, Thorntons of Kilmainham Wood, Panda Waste, and of course Enrich here, who have hosted this launch today. Finally, I would like to thank the Minister for his support in this area and also for his initiatives generally in the area of environment, waste and energy. And I'd also like to thank the Minister for coming to officially launch this programme. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it will be short. It's a lovely day there, so I won't hold everybody up too long. And Minister, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be here representing FÁS at the launch of this training programme here today. And I'd like to certainly congratulate CRAE for the initiative it has shown in being proactive in regard to the training and development needs of its sector. It's very important from a FÁS perspective that we engage with industry associations and industry bodies that are committed to the skill development needs of the sectors. And certainly I'd also like to compliment and congratulate Sligo Institute of Technology for its work in developing and indeed delivering the programme. And I note from some of the documentation that the training programme that we're talking about is actually accredited on the National Framework of Qualifications at Level 6 as a Special Purpose Award. So that gives added recognition to the programme. I'd like to say from a FÁS perspective that obviously the fact that the programme is very much developed and designed and delivered in conjunction with the industry is very important to us. And we look forward in the future to helping the association in whatever way we can. And I'd like to finish up by thanking my colleagues here in the Midlands region for their work on the project. So thank you all.